The message came while I was arranging flowers in my shop. "You're not invited to Emma's wedding. We don't want you ruining her day," David had written. I froze, my hands trembling as I set the roses down. The same blush pink roses I had picked out for my daughter's bridal bouquet. I'm Olivia Walker, 45, and I never imagined I'd be excluded from my own daughter's wedding, especially after spending the last 6 months secretly arranging and funding every detail of her dream day. I sat at my workbench, the scent of flowers surrounding me, my mind flooding with memories. Emma had practically grown up in this shop, sitting here, doing her homework, watching me work. As a child, she would talk about her ideal wedding, her perfect flowers, the dress, the venue. Even at 12, she knew exactly what she wanted. "Mom, when I get married, I want peonies and roses everywhere," she'd say, her eyes shining. "And it has to be at River Oak Gardens. Promise you'll make it perfect." I promised, of course. What mother wouldn't? But that was before David left us for his 28-year-old secretary. When Emma was just 16, before he poisoned Emma against me with lies about our marriage ending, casting himself as the victim and me as the unstable ex-wife who drove him away. 8 years later, David's new wife, Jessica, was playing the role of mother of the bride, while I was deemed too toxic to attend. Another buzz. "This is for the best," David wrote. "Emma doesn't need any drama. Jessica's already handled all the planning." I exhaled deeply, fighting back a smile. "Oh, David, if only you knew." When Emma got engaged 6 months ago, I knew David would try to take control. He'd always been about power and appearances, especially since becoming CEO of his company. But I also knew his dirty secret. His gambling had caught up with him. His company was struggling, and he mortgaged everything to keep it running. So I made some calls. Mr. Chin, my old friend and Emma's godfather, had connections at River Oak Gardens. "The premium package," he said when I called. "Don't worry, I'll make sure they deal with you directly." That was just the beginning. I worked with every vendor, always staying in the background, letting Jessica think she was in charge. The flowers came from my own shop, though I'd arranged for another florist to handle the delivery. The cake, the catering, the music. I chose everything based on those childhood conversations with Emma. The irony was almost laughable. Jessica spent months planning a wedding that was already completely organized and paid for. Every time she thought she was making a decision, it was really just from options I'd already secured. Another message from David. "Jessica's father is walking her down the aisle. Please respect our wishes and stay away." I put my phone down and walked to the back of my shop, where a cooler held the bridal bouquet I'd been crafting for weeks. Blushed pink roses, white peonies, and delicate baby's breath. Exactly what Emma had always dreamed of. I'd woven tiny pearls from my wedding dress into the ribbon, something Jessica would never think to include. The door chime rang, and I quickly closed the cooler door. Mr. Chin stepped in, concern on his face. "Olivia, I just heard from David's secretary. Is it true?" I nodded and showed him the text. "He's banned me from the wedding." Mr. Chin's face hardened. "After everything you've done? Does he have any idea?" "No," I replied, managing a small smile. "And that's how I want to keep it." He sat down heavily in the chair. "Vendors are asking about final payments. Everything's due next week." "The money's already in place," I assured him. "Everything will be paid on time. David and Jessica won't need to worry." "And Emma?" he asked softly. "Does she know her mother arranged her dream wedding?" I shook my head, blinking away tears. "She thinks I abandoned her, just like David said. If she knew I was involved, she'd probably change everything just to spite me." Mr. Chin squeezed my hand across the counter. "You're better than they deserve, Olivia." "Maybe," I said, glancing at the wedding timeline on my bulletin board. "But this isn't about them. It's about keeping the promise I made to my little girl when she was 12. My phone buzzed again, this time from Jessica. "I've handled everything perfectly. Emma will have the wedding she always wanted, no thanks to you." I looked at Mr. Chin and allowed myself to laugh. "Well," I said, "she's not entirely wrong about that second part. The wedding was just 3 days away. David and Jessica had no idea their perfect plans were actually mine, paid for with the money I'd saved from running my flower shop for a decade. They didn't know about the personal touches I'd added, the special arrangements I'd made, or the surprises I had planned. They thought they were keeping me away. But what they didn't realize was that I would be there, in every flower, every detail, every element of the wedding. making Emma's childhood dreams a reality. I typed a response to David. Don't worry, everything will be perfect. For once, I knew I was right. The day before the wedding, I watched from my shop window as Jessica oversaw the delivery of her flowers. She stood in a designer outfit, checking things off her clipboard, completely unaware that every stem had been hand-selected and arranged by me. The roses look a bit sparse, she complained to the delivery driver, who was actually my assistant Mike in a borrowed uniform. Are you sure this is what we ordered? They'll open perfectly by tomorrow morning, ma'am, Mike replied, winking at me through the window. The florist guaranteed it. I'd spent 15 years teaching Mike the ins and outs of flower arranging. He knew exactly when each rose would bloom to perfection. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Chin. David just tried to put a down payment on the venue again. I smiled, remembering David's face when River Oak Gardens told him they had a strict no-payment plan policy. He'd been certain his CEO status would convince them to make an exception. What he didn't know was that I'd already paid in full months ago. How did he take it? I texted. Not well, Mr. Chin replied. Jessica's throwing a fit about using their emergency fund. I felt a twinge of satisfaction, followed by guilt. This wasn't about revenge. It was about Emma. Just then, I saw Emma walk past my shop. My heart clenched as she paused, staring at the window display. For a moment, I thought she might come in. We hadn't spoken in months, since that painful dinner when David announced he'd be paying for everything. A father's gift to his daughter, he'd said grandly. No expense spared. Emma had looked at me with disdain that evening. Well, it's not like you could help anyway, Mom. You're just a florist. Just a florist. The words stung, but not as much as watching Emma walk away, without even coming inside. My phone rang. It was the wedding coordinator I'd hired through Mr. Chin. Mrs. Walker, we have a situation. The groom's mother is insisting on rearranging the seating chart. She says Mr. Harrison's specific requests about table arrangements don't make sense. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Of course, Jessica had to try to change things at the last minute. She had no idea that the seating arrangements I spent days perfecting had been planned with years of family dynamics in mind. Who could sit with whom, which relatives needed distance, and which friends deserved proximity to the main table. Let her make her changes, I said, trying to remain calm. But keep the original chart. Trust me, by tomorrow, she'll understand why it was set up this way. I hung up and walked to the back room, where Emma's bouquet waited in its cooler. I added the final touch, a tiny locket with a photo of her grandmother, my mother, who had passed when Emma was young. Emma likely wouldn't even notice it, but it mattered to me that a piece of our family history would be with her. The rest of the day was a blur of last-minute issues. Jessica wanted to change the menu, David complained about the music, and the groom's mother threatened to move the ceremony indoors, despite the perfect weather forecast. Throughout it all, I kept thinking of Emma at 12, sitting at my workbench, planning her perfect wedding. Promise it'll be just like this, Mom, she said. Promise you'll make it magical. As sunset approached, I drove to River Oak Gardens for a final check. The staff, aware of who was really in charge, let me slip in through the service entrance. The venue was coming together exactly as I'd envisioned. Twinkling lights through the trees, flowers creating natural aisles, every detail perfect. The father of the bride was here earlier, one of the staff whispered, trying to upgrade to champagne he hasn't paid for. I nodded, unfazed. The premium champagne will be delivered at 9 a.m., I said. Don't tell them that. Let them think their complaints got it for them. As I turned to leave, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in a window. I looked tired but calm. Tomorrow, my daughter would have the wedding of her dreams, even if she never knew I was the one making it happen. My phone buzzed one last time as I got into the car. A message from Emma. Mom, I know you're upset about not being invited, but Jessica has made everything so perfect. Maybe if you put in this kind of effort when I was growing up, things would be different. I started the car, tears falling as I read her words. I wanted to explain everything, the months of planning, the careful coordination, the money I'd spent. But I didn't. Instead, I typed back, I hope your day is everything you've ever wanted, sweetie. And I knew it would be, because I had promised. The wedding morning dawned as I'd hoped. Clear skies, a gentle breeze, perfect for carrying the scent of roses. I watched the final preparations through the security cameras Mr. Chen had arranged for me. Everything was falling into place. Jessica was already in meltdown mode, right on schedule. The premium champagne delivery had thrown her into a confusion spiral. "We didn't pay for this upgrade," she insisted to the staff. "There's been a mistake." David, pacing the grounds in his tuxedo, was no better, making frantic calls about the string quartet that had mysteriously been upgraded to include a harpist. Emma's choice, the Dream Edition, which he thought was too expensive. Then I saw her. Emma stepped out of the bridal suite in her dress, and my heart stopped. She was beautiful, radiant, just as I'd imagined. The bouquet I made for her was perfect in her hands, the roses blooming just as planned. Through the camera feed, I saw her touch the pearls woven into the ribbon, her face showing a flicker of recognition. My phone buzzed. "Mr. Chen, it's time." I took a deep breath and pressed play on the video I had prepared weeks ago. Within seconds, the large screen set up for the reception flickered to life. Across the venue, David and Jessica froze, staring at the images now playing. It was Emma at 12, sitting at my workbench, describing her dream wedding. "Mom, promisably just like this," her young voice echoed. The pink roses, the pearls, the harpist playing canon in D. The video continued, showing snippets of Emma planning every detail of her future wedding while arranging flowers with me. Each element she described matched exactly what was now set up around them. Jessica's clipboard hit the ground. David's face went pale, but I was watching Emma, who stood transfixed, looking from the video to her bouquet, finally noticing the locket. She opened it, found the photo, and read the tiny note I tucked behind it. "I promise to make it perfect. Love, Mom." I saw the moment understanding dawn in her eyes. She looked around at the flowers, the lights, everything, and I saw her begin to cry. "Where's my mother?" she asked. "Where's Mom?" David stepped forward, trying to regain control. "Emma, sweetheart, let's not get distracted. Jessica arranged everything." "No," Emma cut him off, her voice strong. "No more lies, Dad. These are Mom's roses. This is her work. I'd know it anywhere." She held up the bouquet. "No one else would weave pearls into the ribbon. No one else would remember the exact shade of pink I wanted." She turned to Jessica, who was flustered about contracts and vendors. "You didn't plan this wedding, did you?" Before Jessica could respond, Mr. Chen stepped forward. "No, she didn't. Your mother did. Every detail, every element, exactly as you dreamed it. She paid for everything months ago." The garden went silent, except for the harpist playing canon in D, just as 12-year-old Emma had requested. The video continued to play. "Why?" Emma's voice trembled. "Why would she do all this and not tell me?" I stepped from behind the garden trellis. "Because you deserve your perfect day," I said softly, "whether I was here or not." Emma turned, tears streaming. We locked eyes for a moment, then she ran to me, arms around me as if I were her little girl again. "I'm so sorry, Mom," she whispered, "for everything." I held her close, careful not to wrinkle her dress. "Don't be, sweetheart, just be happy. That's all I ever wanted." She pulled back, wiping her eyes carefully to preserve her makeup. "Will you walk me down the aisle, please?" I looked at David, deflated and silent, and Jessica, who had no more protests left. Then I looked at my daughter, smiling at me with trust, just like when she was little. "Of course," I said. "I promise to make this day perfect." As we prepared for the ceremony, I caught Mr. Chen's eye. He grinned, turning off the video screens. Their job was done, the truth was out, and my daughter was in my arms. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about keeping your promises, even when no one expects it. I promised my daughter a perfect wedding, and that's exactly what she got. The fact that it exposed years of lies was just a bonus. A bonus that smelled like perfectly bloomed roses. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Stay stunned.